Hi there, my name is Rufus Deutschler, Worldwide Design Evangelist at Adobe Systems. In this episode of CS Insider, I wanted to go over the folio producer tools in InDesign CS 5.5, and particularly the Overlay Creator panel. Because the Overlay Creator panel actually lets you create interactive content that you can then publish through the digital publishing suite to any tablet device. So to begin with, let's start with hyperlinks. There's actually two ways of creating hyperlinks. One is by using the hyperlink panel, and the other one is by simply creating a button. So let's do that very quickly here. By using my text tool, I can create a text frame, and let's say I want to create a hyperlink to the adobe.com website. So I would write down here adobe.com to show my viewers where this will go. Let me make that slightly bigger and center that. And by control-clicking on the text box itself, I can change the text frame options and align everything to the center. Let's say OK to this, and this is the object that will actually trigger the hyperlink. We can also give it a color. Let's make that cyan. And under Window, Interactive, I'm going to open the Hyperlinks panel. And I will simply need to write down the hyperlink that I want to follow. In our case, it's www.adobe.com. And let me also copy that address so I can use that in the second example. All right, at that point, I can press Return, and we're done. That hyperlink is now created. The advantage of using buttons to create hyperlinks, and let me create that one over here. Again, I will say adobe.com and make that 30 pixels, center it, and control-click on it to change the text frame options to align everything to the center. OK. And also give it another color, like maybe, let's say I want this button to be yellow. OK. The benefit of using a button is that when your user actually presses the button on the device, the button may change color or even shape or whatever you like your button to be. To do that, we go under Window, Interactive, and actually open the Buttons panel. And creating a button is as easy as simply clicking one of those appearances, and you see that this object has already been transformed into a button. In that case, we don't need a rollover appearance because there is no real rollover on a digital device that you can touch. We want the button to change when it is being touched. In that case, clicked. Let's say that the button will become red, and let me take my type tool very quickly and change the color of the text to paper. And that way, we now have a button that has a normal state and a click or touch state in our case. To add the hyperlink, all we need to do is to add an action. Go to a specific URL. And again here, what we can do is simply paste the address that I had here, the adobe.com address, press return, and we're done. Basically, we've created two types of hyperlinks here. The next thing we need to do is to actually go into the Overlay Creator panel, which is found here under Window, Extensions, and Overlay Creator. What we see in this panel is that we can add hyperlinks, slideshows, image sequences, audio and video, panoramas, web content, and pan and zoom images. In our case, what we need is to actually change the hyperlink properties. And there's two things we can do with hyperlinks when we want to publish a document to the digital publishing suite. We can either open it the hyperlink inside of the folio itself, so our user actually stays in the publication that we've created, or we can open the hyperlink in the browser that is actually present in the tablet. Okay? We can also ask the device to ask the user first. That is, if we want to be very polite. Okay? So we can say, ask first, are you sure you want to open another browser than the one you're using right now? So in this case, let's just say we want to open the folio, and let's take this other button here, and in the Overlay Creator already senses that this is a hyperlink, and in this case we say open in a device browser, and now it is time to test these things out. And the easiest way to test them out is actually to go here under File, Folio Preview. And this will actually launch another application that has been installed with InDesign CS 5.5, or when you download the plugins for the various DPS panels, which actually allows you to preview your interactivity. So in this case, if I click on adobe.com, the browser opens inside of the publication itself. And it's got a big button up here when you're done reading. You can, of course, browse through the website, okay? But the benefit here is that you're not leaving the publication. So let's say done to that. And then if you click on the button here or touch, it changes color. Okay, that is the button property. And if I let go, it'll actually open that exact same web page in the browser. Okay, and so these are the two ways that you can create hyperlinks. Let's move back over to our InDesign document and move to something else. In this case, what I want to do, and let's just reset my workspace here, I want to create an image sequence. And the image sequence is basically a way to scroll very rapidly through a number of images. In this case, what I have a series of images that have been taken around a bicycle. Okay, on a turntable that you can turn at specific angles and take pictures and give the illusion of turning an object. To do that, I simply need to create an image frame here, and under image sequence, I will then have to load the images that I want to appear in there. In this case, they are found here, and these are the images of the bicycle I was talking about. I will open that, and this image is now inside of my document. Let me make that slightly smaller, just resizing it on the page, okay? And there's a couple of cool things that we can do here. First of all, I can decide to show or not to show the first image initially. Okay? If I choose not to, the overlay will remain blank, and I may have another image in the back. But when my user touches it, the image sequence will start. In my case, I just want to show the first image initially. Let me resize that and put it back into place. Okay, something like that. I can also ask InDesign to create an autoplay. Autoplay is kind of cool because I can say that after a certain amount of seconds, let's say 2, for example, the sequence starts playing autonomously. And I can tell InDesign to play it 1 time, 2 times, or even loop the whole sequence of images. And then I can also allow my user to tap the animation to pause or to play the animation. I can stop at the first or last image or play the whole sequence in reverse. Let's see what this actually did. Let's go back to my InDesign document here, and under File, I will go to Folio Preview and open that specific document. So what our user can do now is simply touch the image and start scrolling through that series of images. Okay, let me show you what this actually is. Let's go over here to Adobe Bridge and open the image sequence itself. And this is actually what we have. A whole series of 150 images that have been taken around that object. But you can also use it for animation. For example, character animation. A series of frames of an animation that your user could then navigate simply by touching the screen and scrolling through the images. Let's move over back to InDesign and look at something else that we can do, and that is the slideshow. Let's move this page over here a little bit and move over back to Bridge, because there's a couple of images that I want to insert here. And I have them here in the slideshow. Let's go here to my links, select them all, and start dragging them and letting them go over on my InDesign document. Now, of course, the easiest way to place all of those images, instead of having to click 7 times, is to start dragging, and then by using the arrow keys, I can actually prepare all the frames that I need for these images. Okay, there we go. I just placed 7 images very, very rapidly. And then I will fit the frame around these images, and since they're still selected, I will now also align them. And here, under the Object and Layout, I will open the Align panel and align those images on top of each other. Okay? But because what we're going to do now is actually create an image sequence. Let's say like this and make it slightly bigger, something like that, and we can turn off the Align panel. Under Window, Interactive, we can open the Object States panel now. And basically what this does, this creates a single object with all of these images inside. And if I want, for example, this image to be the first one, I can still drag it up and put it up here. And let's also give it a name. For example, images, and press enter. We're already done. Okay? Now, if I go here over to my overlay creator panel, I have my slideshow panel. Let me just select this. Okay? So when the image is selected and I go over here into my overlay creator panel, I see that we're now inside of the slideshow panel. And here again, just as the image sequence, I can turn on autoplay with a specific delay, with an interval between images. And let's say, 2 seconds between the images, that's fine. I can also loop these images. I can change the time of the crossfade between the images. Again, I can tell my user that he can pause and play simply by tapping on the image. I can allow my user to swipe to change the images, therefore swiping the finger over the device to change the images. I can stop at the first and last image. In that case, that makes sense because I don't want my user to think that there's 100 images. There's only 7, so it's kind of useful that it actually stops at the end and then it stops again at the beginning. And I can hide it before playing, or I can play the sequence in reverse. Again, let's go here to File, Folio Preview. And this is what our page looks like. After a certain amount of time, the images start changing automatically every 2 seconds with a crossfade. I can then also use my cursor or my finger on the device to browse through the images manually, okay? Overriding the automatic slideshow. All right, so this is another thing that we can do with the Overlay Creator panel. Let's close this. And let's talk a little bit about audio. There's actually 3 things that we can do with audio. Let me show you in Bridge here what I've prepared. Basically, and let's go here into my audio folder, there's ways to create a poster frame for your audio by using an image. Or you can have a series of buttons, a pause button and a play button. In that case, it's very important that they are named this way, audio_pause.png, audio_play.png. The name of the folder doesn't really matter. Another solution is also to create a progressive icon. So for example, check it out here. I have a pause button that is audio01_pause.png with one little gray area here. And then the second one is a bit longer, and the third one is still a little bit longer, and the fourth one is the longest, meaning that this is the end of the audio file. So basically what you can do is a series of little icons that will actually show a progression bar. And this can be useful in some cases when you're putting in audio into your document. Let's make one example here. Let's take this music here. That's an MP3. That's the format that you can import into the InDesign document. And just simply let it go here. Okay. And the overlay creator immediately senses that this is an audio file. And I can choose here whether I want the controller files. All right. So in that case, I don't want a controller, but I simply want to change the image that represents it. And to do that, I would go here under Window, Interactive, and go here under the Media panel. Okay. This is the sound, and I can choose a poster for that. The standard poster is this one, but this is one I advise nobody to actually use because it's not very beautiful, really. Let's choose another image for that. Let's go here in the audio and the audio PNG and open. And this is now the icon inside of my InDesign document. Okay, so I can also decide to autoplay that music or even delay the autoplay. All right, so if you want to freak out your users, you can put in an autoplay and maybe 20 seconds later you have a very loud music coming out of the page if you want to do that. Okay, so autoplay for sound. The other thing we can do is, let me go back to my audio file here. I'm going to take it back here again and put it in my InDesign document. And in that case, what I will do is actually take my controller files. All right, just go back here to my audio folder. And all I want here is actually the play and pause buttons. Okay, open, and this is where these two buttons are. And we'll be able to check them out in the preview. Let me make the last one. Let me go back here to Bridge, take my MP3 file again, to InDesign, let go, click, and in this case, I want the progressive controller. So let's go back here into my folder, the progressive, all right, and open. That's where all my PNGs are, okay? At that point, we're ready to actually look at the file. Let's go here, File, Folio Preview, and in the Adobe Content Viewer, so if I click on that button, the audio will start. If I click on it again, the audio will stop. If I press on this second one that I did with the two distinct icons, I press the play button, the pause button appears, and if I press the pause button again, the play button appears. So that's a way of starting and stopping the music. And then if I press the play button here, the pause button appears, and as the music goes on, the progressive bar will move forward. Okay, so this was a very easy way to put audio into our digital document. Let's look at the last one in this episode, and that's to put in a movie. We could put in movies in an InDesign document for quite some time now to create interactive PDFs, for example. So for DPS, it's pretty much the same. Let's go over here to Bridge and actually get my movie file here. And in this case, it is here in the links, it is an MP4. This is the format that InDesign will take for DPS. If you don't have the MP4, you can always use the Adobe Media Encoder, which actually comes with the Creative Suite, to convert your video content to that format. I will simply take that movie, start dragging it, putting it here into my InDesign document, and let go. All right? What InDesign does automatically, it takes the first frame of the movie and places it as a poster image. In my case, what I want to do is to actually change that poster. So if I go here under Interactive and Media, the same window that we had for sound, I can now scrub in the movie, okay, and choose maybe a different frame to use as a poster. I can use from current frame and reload that. And in my InDesign document, I will now have that image, okay? But in my case, what I want is also another image that maybe tells my user that there is a movie there. Let's move over here to my video folder. In the links, I have a JPEG for that poster. Let's open that, and this is a screenshot that I took, and I've added some text in Photoshop to actually tell my user that if he clicks there, a video will start. So once the media is put inside of my document, I can go back over to the overlay creator, and you see that now the audio part of the panel is grayed out. But under video, I have the opportunity to actually ask InDesign to create an autoplay after a specific number of seconds. I can tell that the video should open in full screen or not. And also, if I allow my user to actually tap the video itself and show the controller. Let's check this out. File, Folio Preview. And here we have the page with my personalized poster frame. And once I click on it, you see that there is a controller here. And every time I click on the movie, that controller will appear. If I click again, the controller will disappear. Okay, so this control is pretty useful to understand at what part of the movie we are actually at. So let's close this and go back to the InDesign document and in the Overlay Creator panel. So in this episode, we've seen how to create hyperlinks, slideshows, image sequences, and how to add audio and video to your InDesign projects that will ultimately be published using the Adobe Digital Publishing Suite. Thank you for joining me today, and see you soon.